Episode of Alpine Garage Sports. We are going to be talking about the CU versus Houston game and the keys to winning the game, right? We're going to be going into South Houston for the first time on the road this year. And it's going to be, some people say a hostile environment. I don't think it's going to be a hostile environment, but we do need to carry a win out of South Texas. And we're going to talk about how we can do it here on this episode of Alpine Garage Sports. All right, it is almost game day. We have a little bit of an early week this week with playing on a Friday night, and I'm actually really excited about it. That gives me basically all day Saturday to watch college football, and so that makes me super excited. I get to get the Colorado game in before all of that. Don't have to miss any of that. It's all good. It's all good. So it's tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN, and it is going to be this game has changed for me. I think it's changed for, everybody, right? Because going into the season, I didn't think that we would be underdogs to the Houston Cougars. And it turns out that we are 4.5-point underdogs to the Houston Cougars right now, and for good reason. We're looking at, the first two games of the year. There's going to be a lot of stats I'm going to throw you, and those stats are going to be something that we have to take with a grain of salt because we're only 2 games into the season. Most teams in every conference are playing their easy out-of-conference teams first. So a lot of these pads or stats are padded from that standpoint of they're playing much easier opponents than they're going to be playing going forward. But the great equalizer is if everybody's doing it, then the stats should be very similar from that standpoint, right? So when we're looking at these numbers, take that with a grain of salt. We'll call out some keys there as we're going. But the reality is that it's going to be a much tougher game than I had originally anticipated. So let's go into the game headline. So first of all, the one thing that I think all of us can agree on here is that once you look at Houston and you do some analysis of it, is Houston's defense is really kind of carrying them this year. Now, granted, they do have what would be considered to be a top-tier quarterback. And when I say top-tier, I don't mean top-tier right now, but I mean in general. At one time, Connor Wigman was the national quarterback of the year in high school. So when you're talking about your number one quarterbacks coming out of high school, Connor Wigman is an older version of one of those guys, right? He played at A&M. Didn't have tons of success there, came to Houston, which is his hometown, and trying to find success here. And in this particular offense that he has right now, I don't know. We'll talk about their offense here in a minute, but their defense, outside of the Connor Wigman thing, their defense is, top 3, top 4 in the country right now as far as yards allowed. And they are doing a good job not only in the run, but also in the pass. A big part of that is the fact that they have their new defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong, who has a long lineage, came from the University of Florida, has worked under Saban and Kirby Smart in the past. So obviously a lot of knowledge as far as defenses go, and he runs a fairly complex defense. And from what I've heard about the way that he likes to run his defense is that he likes to give different looks, and what I've seen, likes to give different looks throughout the game so that you don't know, it makes it harder for a quarterback to read the defense and anticipate the defense. And we have a new quarterback coming in to CU. I say new, not new, but new this year starting in Brian Staub, and that could pose a problem, right? But we do know that Houston has a great defense. So I think that's one of the game headlines right there. And on that same note, something that, a key to the game today obviously would be to put some yards on their defense finally, since their defense has been very stingy for the first 2 games of the year. But for the next 2 games after this, so these 3 games, Houston, and then the next 2 games, we're looking at 3 of the top 6 defenses going into the 3rd week of the year. Did you guys know that? Did you know that Wyoming was, I think, like number 5 defense as far as yards allowed. Now, granted, again, everybody's playing lesser teams, but everybody's playing lesser teams, right? So there are going to be a lot of we have to. What I'm saying is we have to show our dominance on the offensive line. We have to show our dominance in the running game, and we have to show efficiency in the passing game against this Houston defense or these other two games that we are going into that we thought maybe looking a little bit easier after Houston aren't going to be quite so easy, guys. So let's talk about that for a second. Another big game headline would be Ryan Staub starting. That's if Ryan Staub starts. And I think we all think that Ryan Staub is going to start. And I'm one of those guys where I think Ryan Staub is going to start. But who knows? Coach could throw Kaidon out there to start the game, but let's not do that. Let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about the fact that everybody thinks that Ryan Staub is going to start. So let's have Ryan Staub starting this game. I think that gives us a very good chance of winning because the impact that he made in the game last week against Delaware was something that it is so. Let's see. What am I trying to say here? I mean, it was a good performance, right? 7 out of 10, over 150 yards, but it made national headlines and it made every single news agency's national headline throughout this week. And it's been the talk of Colorado, right? So why not start the hot guy and get him in here and give him an opportunity against a really tough defense? And if Staub comes out and he really shows what he did in Delaware against Houston, that's really going to be the hallmark of this year. At that point, we can ride the Staub train all the way to, having a great season. And it isn't just this year. If you look back to the Utah game, he was 17 for 25 for 195 yards. He was only sacked twice. And I wanted to bring that up because I remember that vividly from that game. At that point in time, we were getting sacked 5, 6, 8 times per game. In fact, that total of 2 sacks in that game was the lowest for the entire season. And one of the things I took away from that is even though we lost, and we lost by less than a touchdown, and even though Staub was hit on a sack in the first series and lost the ball, and Utah turned that into 7 points, which was the game-winning touchdown. And I say that, I'm not saying that it was Staub's fault that we lost that game, but what I'm saying is on his first drive, first start in college, and really kind of we got into a bad situation early. He came back in that game and he showed what we see now in this last game in Delaware. So he kind of got those butterflies out early and he ran with it. And honestly, did a great job last week. And this week we're looking for that same kind of leadership, that same kind of ownership in the offense. And so that is my Colorado headline going into this. Obviously, there couldn't be any others, right? We could talk about a lot of things, but this is going to be the biggest thing we have going. Now, let's jump into the team breakdowns. And I'm breaking these down pretty rudimentarily because we're still only 2 games in, right? So we still don't know a lot about Houston. Houston doesn't know a lot about Houston. Colorado doesn't know a lot about Colorado. I mean, that's the funny thing about this game is that we're going into this game and we still have a lot of questions for both teams that are going to be answered in this game, or hopefully answered in this game. So let's look at the offenses. So passing offense, CU was ranked 75th in the country, way farther down than we were last year. Last year, we were like number 6 in the country all year long because of Shedeur. Passing offense for Houston, 102nd. So even though we have slid, they are only putting up 170 yards average through the air against 2 teams that they should probably, having Connor Wigman as their quarterback, I mean, he should be putting 300 yards on those teams. They should be at 300. They're at half. Here, put it this way. They're at half of what I thought they would be or thought they should be going into this game as far as their passing offense is concerned. So obviously there's a disconnect there. And when you watch their offense, it looks a little discombobulated. It really does. It looks a little sloppy. Now, I'm saying that with my tongue in my cheek because we haven't looked much better, guys. Okay, even though we are our passing offense is at 213.5 per game, we still aren't at our full stride. Rushing offense, CU number 88, Houston number 42. This is where Houston starts to separate itself on the offense, is that they have been very good running the ball, 197 yards average per game. They CU has had 138 average per game, and that is obviously a big uptick from last year, right? If we were passing for 213 yards a game and we were running for under 100 yards a game, we would be 0-2. But our rushing offense has really helped us out, especially in this last game versus Delaware. And that's going to come up in another stat too, which is time of possession. Last week, we did a great job holding onto the ball and running the ball efficiently. Not world beater running, but enough to where we moved the sticks and kept the clock running and managed the game and really came away. We came away with 32-27 in time of possession. And that's a game winner right there. That is a game winner against Houston, is time of possession. If you can run, between 31 and 33 minutes of clock time on your offense, then you are going to win this game. That's how close I think these teams are right now. Time of possession, here we go. CU is number 67 and Houston is number 54. Now, CU would be way further up than that if we didn't kind of let it all go in the first game. We were at 27 minutes time of possession in game one, which is terrible, right? And we lost the game. Georgia Tech did a great job of just grinding and bleeding that clock. And then at the end of the game, we were one score down, and that's how the games are won, right? So in this particular case, that's where we're at. We're at an even 30 minutes, whereas Houston's at 31 minutes. So they have managed to keep time of possession in the positive both games, and they've won both games, right? So one thing about time of possession, I talk about it a lot, and I know a lot of people on that know football know that time of possession is a big deal. But to kind of give you an idea how big a deal it is 4 of the top 5 teams in time of possession, okay, for the year so far, are 2-0. Now, that doesn't surprise me a lot because, again, everybody's playing cupcakes, and if you keep your time of possession positive, and you're playing against a cupcake, you're probably going to win, right? But this is the same trend for year after year after year. If you look at the top teams in time of possession, they are some of the better teams in the country because nine times out of 10, they're just really good at running the ball and they're really efficient at using the clock. Rushing, let's get into defense now. Rushing defense, Colorado 121. Okay, we're allowing 202 yards per game. Now, most of that came out of game one, right? Where they ran, I think it was 320 yards on us. But that's a thing, right? Georgia Tech is not the best running team in the country, and we're going to be coming up against some really good running teams. So that 121 is something that obviously is going to affect us if we don't shore up our running game. And Houston is number 54, only allowing 108 yards per rush. They played 2 lesser teams than we did. So I'm gonna say that they're probably pretty good at the run, but I don't think they're as good at the run as they think they are. And we'll bring that up here in just a minute. Passing defense, CU number 92, averaging 227 yards allowed in the passing defense. And Houston is number 3. They are number 3 in the country in passing defense at only 78 yards. Now, 2 things I want to say about this. First of all, again, we're going to talk about competition. The competition wasn't all that great. But the second thing is they have a great secondary. Not only do they have a great secondary, but their individual players, specifically the defensive backs, are I'm not going to say shut down, but they're pretty close. And they've shown that pretty good in the first 2 games. And that's a little bit concerning, knowing that Staub is an accurate quarterback and he has a powerful release. He makes good decisions. But if we find ourselves not being able to pass the ball because they're locking us up, we're going to have to go to another level of offense, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But that really surprised me. I did not pick Houston as having the number 3 defense in yards allowed through the air. Total defense, we are number 115, allowing 429.5 yards. And again, most of those came out of Georgia Tech. And but keep in mind that last week we allowed 400 yards against Delaware. So, we can't do that. We cannot do that. The biggest thing I see in the defense this year is just missed tackles. We all know that. You can put it in the comments if you think I'm wrong. But the missed tackles are super, super, super concerning because we're losing another 3 to 5 yards every single time we miss a tackle. In this last game, it just for whatever reason it didn't look like we could manage that against a team that we shouldn't have been able to manage that against. So we are ranked number 115. Houston is ranked number 4 at 186 yards per game. So they are keeping their opposing offenses to less than 200 yards a game. We have to break that this week, right? Total offense, CU number 91 and Houston number 80. We're really close, 351 yards per game versus 367. I think our offenses match up pretty evenly from that standpoint. It's just that Houston's defense is going to be harder to penetrate than CU's defense will be for Houston. And that is where I think that plus 4.5 comes from, is the fact that we don't know if CU's offense is going to be able to move on Houston's defense. I do think that Houston's offense will be able to move on CU's defense. Hopefully it won't be for 400 yards. If it is, I think it's sealed right there. We give up 400 yards to Houston, I don't know that we're going to be able to pull out of that. So we've got to be able to figure out that part of the game, right? Now, penalties. I wanted to bring this up because I ragged on us last year for penalties. We were terrible last year, over 100 yards a game. We beat ourselves in a lot of those games that we lost. We didn't lose a lot of games, right? But penalties this year have flipped. So I want to give Colorado kudos for that. We are very disciplined this year. Number 29 in the country. We have had 9 penalties for 85 yards. Houston is number 44, still not bad, 10 for 88. So we're pretty much dead even on that. Both very disciplined teams. And so when we're playing another disciplined team, we cannot let up on that because I don't think Houston's going to. Houston's playing at home. They feel comfortable. They've kind of gotten into a rhythm in the first 2 games playing the same people. And so now we're going to go over the keys to the game. So my number one key, the top 3 keys are the same top 3 keys in the games this year. Time possession, we got to win it. Last week, 32-27, 32-27. I love that number. If we can grind it out like we did last week and we can pick up 3-4 yards of carry and we can just keep that clock moving and keep it away from Connor Wigman, I think that we stand a better chance of winning. That stated, keeping their defense on the field longer is going to be a big deal. We need to keep their defense on the field, wear them out. We are superior, I think. I personally think in conditioning, especially this year, our conditioning is top notch. One of the things, and I'm gonna put this in parentheses because a lot of people talk about it and there's a lot of conjecture about it. But training at altitude. All right. So I'm going to put this in with the time possession. Training at altitude is important for Colorado. It's a detriment to anybody else that has to come up to Colorado and play at low altitude or high altitude. Sorry. So training at altitude is less important when you're playing at altitude, and it is more important when you're playing at low elevations. Okay. So the reason why Colorado Springs, for instance, has the Olympic Training Center is to get athletes from around the country to come up to altitude to train, to essentially build their bodies into red blood cell machines, and then send them back down to where they're going to be competing. And at that point, their stamina is greater, better bursts. The physiological part of the training at altitude comes to fruition down low, not up high. Okay. Now your endurance, you don't get as tired up high, but I use the word super phenom a lot when I talk about training at altitude because I do a lot on training with altitude stuff. But I'm just saying that if we can, for time of possession, If we can keep that momentum and keep just pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding, even if it isn't something that we are, we're picking up big bursts of 7-8 yards. We're just pounding for 3, pounding for 4, pounding for 3, pounding for 4. I think we will wear that defense down a little bit. I honestly think we're going to wear that line down if we can do that. So I'm going to throw that out there as my number one key. The second thing, penalties. Keep it clean. We've kept it clean. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. If we do that, if we keep it clean this tomorrow, we stand a way better chance. I don't want to give Houston any more yards than we have to. So let's keep it clean. Number 3, turnover margin. We are number 4 in the country in turnover margin. You guys probably have already figured that out, but we are very good at taking the ball away. We're not very good at converting on it, but we're very good at taking the ball away. So those punch drills and stuff like that, the peanut drills, those are important. We need to make sure that we take the ball away from Connor Wigman in that offense and give our offense the ability to then again grind the clock, grind it, right? Now, here's where we separate. Number 4, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Just said that. But specifically through the gaps, right? I don't – this defense is very fast. Like their DBs are fast as hell. So if we're doing screens out into the flat, if we're running out into the flat, if we're trying to keep wide, I think we're going to get chased down. I don't think that we're going to be very good doing that. I think we need to open up some gaps. We need to run power through the gaps. We just need to run power. And again, it's not going to be sexy, but it will be effective from the standpoint of draining that clock, because that's what we're trying to do. We're not going to win this game by, whatever it is, 21 points like the last game. It's going to be a knockout, drag out fight this entire time. And we stand a better chance if we can do that. Quick strikes, don't dance in the backfield, know where your gap is and hit it. Trust your offensive line to get you open there, and let's go hit that. Number 5, my number 5 is, and I've said this every week for 3 years, 2 years and 2 games, right? Tight ends. We have a great receiving core. I want to see Sincere Brown and Ryan Staub hook up, right? I do. There is a reason why the tight ends are important in this game, and it's because the middle of the field is important to us. I think that our receivers against their really good corners is going to be a battle all day. You put our tight ends into the middle and pick up 6-7 yards on a flag route or something like that. I think it's going to be really important to us that we get our tight ends involved. We have not done it yet. I think Staub could be the quarterback that actually creates that connection with like Adkins and maybe a few other ones, and do the same thing essentially that Houston is going to do to us, which is basically Connor Wigman is going to use his giant tight end to just nickel and dime us all the way down the field. And that's what they've been doing. Their tight end is a great, what is his name? Somebody throw his name out there. His name is Tanner Kazoil. 113 catches for 115 yards and 8.8 average. And that is his favorite receiver by a long shot. He has 13 grabs. The next receiver is at 5, which is Amir Thomas. So we have to, not only on defense, do we have to keep an eye out for that. The linebackers need to key in there. But at the same time, we can do the same thing, guys. We can. We just have not. We have decided not to do it. We need to do it in this game. We have decided, or we need to do it. Now, my last one that I'm going to bring up, number 6, my number 6 key to the game. And if we do this, I think we win the game, right? We tackle. If we can tackle, we will win this game. And what I mean by that is if our missed tackles are down to a handful, then we're going to be fine, right? I think we're getting burned on a lot of just really bad form tackling. I've seen a couple of guys go for balls where they think they can, we want to punch that ball out, but at the same time, we have got to hit, and we've got to hit hard. Like, this has got to be a very physical game for the defense. We've got to put Houston on notice that if they want to go across the middle, they're going to pay the consequences. If they want to try to get Wigman in the air a little bit more, their wide receivers are going to pay the consequences. Their running backs are going to get smashed on the line of scrimmage. We've got to do a really good job of form tackling and then second up, just absolutely drill them. Just slow them down. Let's get them knocked to the ground and show some moxie in that defense. It's got to be. We've got to come out. We got to come out hitting. We got to come down out hitting hard. Right. So those are my top six keys to the game. And now we're going to go to some comments here that I highlighted. First one I want to say is Staub, don't trip. I thought that was a funny quote. I thought that was something that was it was apropos. It was well timed. And I love to see coach have confidence in one of our quarterbacks like that, especially right after the game. And it just, I think that solidified what we thought the decision was going to be going forward. And so I want to bring that up. CU defense, please tackle better. So this is something that we just talked about, right? Number 23, start grabbing and start hitting. I love Carter Stoutmire. I think he is going to be a great player for us. I think he's getting better throughout this year, but at the same time, last week he did miss some tackles, and it wasn't just him, guys. It was everybody. And I don't know that. There we go. We're back. All right. But yeah, I think we're going to be fine. Peter is in the house. Peter says, "Good morning, fam." Peter also says, "More concerned about our gap protection on D and running game. Not worried about the QB situation. If the QB situation is with uncertainty, everything else better be disciplined and productive and consistent." That's absolutely correct. We've got to be able to shield the newness of our quarterback in this system. And that's a good way of putting it. I appreciate that. Oh, Shirley's in the house. Hey, Shirley, how you doing today? Reginald says Staub has gained the trust of the locker room. And I agree. Looking at the way that the team really rallied around Staub in those events where he was scoring touchdowns and after the game and this week in practice, I honestly feel like we might have a new swagger going into this game. And if we do, we will see it immediately, right? Fast strike, get out there. Let's put some points on the board and not look back. If we can be up by, let's say if we can be up by 14 going into this game, I don't think we're going to relinquish it. I really don't. I think at that point we showed last week, one of the things I was looking for was we showed we can slow the game down. And we looked good doing it. So that stated, if we can get ahead, I think we can slow this game down. Keep the ball out of his hands. Let's see. Thomas Robert says, but the defense definitely better, tackle better, and where the linebacker play is non-existent right now. Yes, that was the number one key to my game here. I should say the number 6, but I go from 1 to 6. So actually, my number 1 is time of possession. We're going to win the time of possession battle, but tackling is super, super important. If we don't tackle, we're going to lose this game. If our game against Delaware, if our defense plays like it did against Delaware, we're going to lose this game because Houston can put points on the board. Wigman is finding his stride, even though, again, they look sloppy. I'm gonna say something in here that's probably going to cause some controversy. But I want to remind myself that Willie Fritz is 214 and 124, right? Willie Fritz has won almost twice as many games as he's lost. And he has coached a lot of football. He has been around the horn. Austin Armstrong, their new defensive coordinator, obviously tons of background, coaching with some of the great coaches of all time in college football. So their coaching is really good. What I saw against Sam Houston and against Rice, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's something about them. I'm going to bring this up. This is something that kind of bothers me a little bit. when I'm watching those games, man, like half of the offense and half the defense have their shirts untucked and they're just looking sloppy. They didn't look real crisp. I mean, it didn't look like a really well, like just well coached team for some reason to me, even though they scored tons of points. And I'm way wrong on this. But when I'm looking at it, I'm just like, man, I feel like we could go in there and we could put our foot on their throat and choke them out. And I still feel like that's probably some of what we have available to us. I think if Staub goes out there, our offensive line does what our offensive line has been doing, and our running game has what our running game has been doing, and Staub does what he did in those 4 series that he had. This game could look way different, and we could expose what we think is a really good defense, based on 2 really weak teams. That could be the thing that happens, right? I don't know. All right, I still think we're gonna have to really punch hard on offense in order to get their defense to back out, because they've been showing some really good, really good defense, scary good defense. Let's see. Easy Sunrise says tackling killed us. Those should be short yardage stops turning into first downs, killing us. That's right. Easy Sunrise also says we got to be aggressive, period, on both offense and defense. Our mentality has got to change. We've got to be with Staub in there on offense. We look like we were just right. And that felt good. That felt good to everybody. That's why everybody was so pumped after the game. It wasn't the first part of the game and it wasn't the last part of the game. It was the middle part of the game. And we walked out of there with our chests puffed up like, man, we figured this out, right? And then we look and we see 400 yards given up on defense. And we're like, come on, man. Come on. We're like 50% of the way there, right? That's what it felt like. 50% of the way there. And I will be the first to say I am not off on this defense at all. Like I think our defense is I came into this year saying that our defense is better than last year. And I'm going to hang my hat on the fact that our defense is better than last year. We just haven't figured it out yet. And we are going to figure it out and it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. But that just kind of a kick to the chest there. So that is all I've got for you today. We will be back tomorrow at our normal morning time for the morning huddle. And I want to say that's going to be about 5 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time. And we're going to be doing some last minute kind of brush ups on this Houston game. And then the Houston game is tomorrow evening. And I don't know if I'm going to go live for that or not. I might have a like a halftime show or something like that, or a post game show. But I want to watch the game. And that's what it comes down to. I just want to watch the game. So that is a wrap from Alpine Garage Sports, the Rudy of YouTube sports channels, by the way. And we will see you in the next video. Please subscribe.